When we look at a project from end-to-end perspective, many of the people only look project from the perspective of classes, UI. It should be object oriented, it should have interfaces, it should have abstract classes means what, they look from only the front end perspective, but the back end is also very much important, because finally what's so crucial and so important is the data by itself. So if the data is not managed properly, then definitely the project tomorrow cannot really scale up to business demands. So the first thing, let's understand that what is database normalization, and what we'll do is that we will just think about that how we can actually move the previous database design into a better database design. Okay, so here's something which I have, and first let's try to understand this so that we can understand the word normalization. Now in our invoicing project, what we have is we have basically a customer name, we have an address, we have a product, we have a unit cost of the product. So for example, if we say Shiv, okay, he lives in this XYZ address, he has bought this shirt, a product shirt, and its cost is 500. Raju again stays in some address PQR, he has also bought shirts and it's 500. Now what has happened is basically for these two guys I have repeated the shirts and the value 500 twice, so there is a redundancy. Now what I do is that I move this data, which is the redundant data, right, from the actual table, and I move it into a different table where I name it, okay, ID. I give ID to that product and name it as shirts and unit cost something. Now this ID I reference it over here. So what happens is now I'm not repeating over here the shirts and the unit cost. So in this way my database design is becoming much better. Second, if I change the unit cost or the shirt name there, it changes everywhere. Like over here, if the shirt is changed to something else, like let's say it becomes sleeveless shirt or something, then I need to change here, it change in the second row, third row, and how much of a data depending on the type, depending on the amount of data I have to change for everyone. So this is again a useful thing for this. Now this is called as a primary key, that is the ID, and it is unique, right? And this is called as a foreign key because it has been referenced. So the transaction table, this table which references the key, is called as a foreign key, and this is the primary key. Primary key is always unique. I mean to say, you cannot have again one and say pants. No, it has to be, you cannot say something like this, one and pants. That's not possible. You have to make it unique, like let's say 2. So in the sense, the primary key ID is always unique. Now how do we, so what's the problem with our project? Now the problem is the same. The product was repeating again and again in all the data. So what I've done is that I have created one more table called as the MST product, right? And this product, I have done two things. I first defined a primary key on the product ID, and to make a primary key, just select the table and right click and say set primary key. Okay, over here it is remove. I'll just remove it, and you should see something like this, set primary key. So that way you can set your primary key of your primary key for a column. The second thing what I did is that I just made it an incremental field by defining it as identity. So identity field means that it will increase 1 2 3 4 by itself. So as you insert records, it will become 1 2 3 4. I mean, so there will the auto increment will be handled by SQL Server, and you don't need to handle it yourself. Right. Now what you do is that in order to define the relationship between this product and the invoice, we open a database diagram. If you want, I already have a diagram one here. If you want to create one, you can just say add new diagram, right? Go to the diagrams, and what you do is that you just, in case these tables are not present here, just add table. I have already added these two tables, so there is nothing in my selection, or else you should get something. Just select both of this table and click add. Once you've done this, you're over here. Now here's product ID underscore FK, which is nothing but again int property, which has a data type int. Okay, and this is my primary key. Now if you want to define the relationship between this and this, what you need to do is that you need to select this, drag and drop here, and leave it till here. So in this way you'll say, okay, the primary key table is MST product, The foreign key where it has to be related is product underscore fk. Great. And in this way we have defined the relationship between both of these tables. So this is called as database normalization, in the sense what you try to reduce as much as redundant data as possible. Now there are plus points of database normalization and there are negative points of database normalization. The plus point is that definitely your data is not repeated. So with that, your data is not repeated. So with that, you save a lot of space in your database, right? For example, if the invoice makes 1,000 entries, then I need to make 1,000 entries of the product description and the unit cost. So definitely that's a huge disk space utilization in my project. That is one. But the negative point is that when you are dealing when you are dealing with projects which are basically having large number of records, and you need to fire query, then a query becomes slower because now you need to do an inner join and get the data, right? Let me explain you what this means. Let's open this table invoice, and you will see that okay, currently it doesn't have anything. What we'll do is that we'll just make some entries. Okay, so let me make an entry invoice, and I hope that there is something in my product. Let's see the product table. It must be having some shirts, pants or something. I've just made some dummy entries. So shirts, okay, let's take the shirt thing, and we say okay, invoice date is 1/1/2008, just a junk date. Product ID is 1, so that means that shirts, 2 quantity, 100 amount, something tax, paid amount, shiv, unit cost, right? That's it. Now if I want to query this, okay, if I want to fire a query saying that what is the product over here, I need to make an inner join, a join with MST product. So in that case, what you need to do is that your select query becomes a bit complicated, or becomes a bit different, yeah. So here's it is. So we have to say okay, I'll take this query, let me fire it on the invoice. So new query. You can also use this wizard to do it, but I'll use this currently, right? I'll just fire it across. So you can see that, what does this query mean? This query says that okay, select the invoice.invoice reference number, invoice.invoice comments, and from the masters MST product, select product description, that is from this, and join on invoice product ID and product ID primary key. So product ID underscore fk and product ID primary key. So this is an important thing. You need to make an inner join. Now because you need to make an inner join, what happens is, if you have large set of data, this the SQL can become slow. So it's not that always normalization is good. Sometimes if you want to increase efficiency and you think that no, my database space, if it increases, it doesn't really mind to me, then denormalization is a good thing also. So when you want to fetch the product of this product description of this table into the invoice select statement, you need to make an inner join on the product ID fk and the MST product. Now you can see over here in my select statement, the shirts has been populated. So it has just properly made an inner join with it and got the shirts, right? So always remember that whenever you design a project, always look into the part of also normalization. See that if it is a master table, then go ahead, because definitely tomorrow the master table has to be centralized. You don't want the data to be repeated. But if you think that that the project is more of a reporting thing and where the query performance is very much important, then probably you need to denormalize your database structure. So I hope that in this session you have understood the fundamental of normalization.